Hello and welcome to JavaScript Marathon Training presented by This.Labs. I'm Sarah with This.Labs and I will be your host. We're excited to bring you our next session, Vue 3 Migration in Practice. Today's trainer is Simone Cuomo, Senior Software Engineer at This. Welcome, Simone.
Welcome, everybody.
You can find Simone on Twitter using the handle shown at the bottom of the screen. Please don't hesitate to get in touch if you have any questions or feedback. Of course, JavaScript Marathon would not be possible without our sponsors. Our sponsor today is This.Labs, your partners in modern digital transformation. We specialize in mentorship, consulting, training, and staff augmentation for enterprise organizations. Find out more at this.labs.com. This.Labs offers personalized training programs to suit your organizational needs, ensuring you and your company stay on the leading edge. If you find keeping up with constantly evolving technologies a struggle and want to bring your team up to speed on one of the latest technologies, contact us today at hi@this.co to set up your complimentary needs assessment. Check out these upcoming special events. We're rounding out the year with our last global Vue meetup featuring Tracy Lee and Mike Hardington. Simone will be hosting. More details are available at this.co. Also in the new year, our monthly mentoring is back January 20th, 2021. And then we're back with Global Vue Meetup on January 21st. And last but not least, JavaScript Marathon returns Wednesday, January 20th. Follow us on This.Labs on Twitter for more details. And with that, I will hand it over to Simone.
So, first of all, thank you everyone for joining, either if you're live or if you're watching this, in a later stage. As mentioned by Sarah, today's session is called Vue.js 3 Migration in Practice. So in today's session, we're trying to upgrade a real live version of a Vue application, and we're going to do all the steps actually live. So there are going to be loads of live code. So as you may expect, there's going to be loads of red screen, there's going to be loads of issues, but we're all going to be together and trying to solve them. This is not an introductory level to Vue, so we expect you to know a little bit about Vue. So as Sarah mentioned, This.Labs provides JavaScript Marathon monthly. So there has already been quite a few past events in Vue, and this is a list of them. You can find them on the this.YouTube channel. And if you're starting now to learn about Vue, I would really suggest to go through over them. If you do have any question, please contact me. I'm going to share the Twitter handler later on. I'm very active there, so I'm happy to answer any question, either of this session or something session or anything Vue related. I'm really happy to support anyone. So what are we going to do? In this session, we are going to analyze this application. If you do want to, you can actually go. This has been deployed on Netlify, so it's available everywhere. This is a Vue 2 application. And you can see that we will be able to log in. After login, you'll be able to see a list of articles. As you can see, it's all loaded asynchronously. There's a little bit of animation and transition between the pages. There are some broken paths. There's a disabled vue-router link, and there's a modal. And then there's a little bit of vuex. I do apologize about the very noisy keyboard. I've been told in previous sessions that it can be annoying. And then we can also have a search over here, search bar it. So it's, there is a bit of content there, and all the content has been developed on purpose for you guys to be able to pull the code if you want and go through each individual step. Throughout this session, I'm also going to share with you the actual repository, so you can play around with it. And if you got any question again, you can come with me. If we go and see the application, I don't know if you've ever used a Git Kraken for it. So we're going to start from the 3010. That is going to be the branch, and then we're going to work our way through. So if you ever pull this repository, you will see each individual change actually being pushed as its own commit. So it's actually easy for you to follow it up afterwards as well if you're not following this live. And if something doesn't work, you can just pull out and you can just do an npm install or everything else. So we've seen the code itself, so let's go through the slides. Agenda today is we're gonna have a very quick overview of what actually happened in Vue 3, why it's important, what have they changed, and why you should upgrade. Then I'm gonna answer a few questions that I usually get asked straight away as soon as I try to do a Vue 3 session. So I'm gonna answer them straight away before you guys have a chance to do it, because some of the things have not been covered because everyone else is covering them. So I try to actually give you the real example, what will happen to you if you're trying to upgrade your application to Vue 3, and not just to tell you, this is what you should do because it's the coolest things to get on Vue. So I have some frequently asked questions that I'm going to cover. Then we're going to check the ecosystem. So we're going to see how is the rest of the Vue ecosystem following up. So we know the Vue 3 has been upgraded, but what about vue-router? What about vuex? What about Vue test util? What about Storybook? So we're going to cover a little bit about that. Next up, we're going to have a live demo in which we're going to do a live upgrade. We're introducing the debugger, the changing before, the teleport, the fragment, the emit declaration, the vue-router, the attribute changes, the v-model, the router link. There's quite a lot to cover. Okay, so we may or may not be able to fulfill everything within the hours. I usually like to do very full session. I don't like to do session where I'm gonna be slow or not cover anything. And as I mentioned before, if we don't have enough time, I can share these slides with you first of all, and I can also, there will be plenty of resources and link that I'm gonna share. And also, as I mentioned before, there will be the link that you guys can actually go and follow up. At the end of the session, there's gonna be some question and answer. So there should be, I will make sure that there is around 5 minutes for you guys to, at least 5 minutes for you guys to ask questions. But at any given time, if you do have a question, please do ask and write it in the YouTube channel. What I will do, I will cover each individual entry here. And when I finish them, I will go back to my screen to be able to see the question. So if you do have any question, please don't hesitate to ask, because sometimes I may not give enough details, I may not cover something. So please, please, please take this opportunity to have me online to be able to support you and answer questions. So it's time to wish me luck. The first point we're going to cover today is an overview. So what has changed? If you have heard anything about Vue or seen any presentation on it, you probably are already aware, but it's nice to give a little bit of a background to people to let them understand what has actually happened. So first and foremost, the Vue upgrade from Vue 2 to Vue 3 is not a small upgrade. In fact, behind the scene, even you and the rest of the team have changed the code base completely. The reason for the change, they wanted to make it more modular. They wanted to make it simple for people to contribute. So if you want to get into Vue now, want to contribute, there's so much that can be done because the code is much simpler to follow. Third and foremost, they wanted to make the code TypeScript. They wanted to introduce TypeScript within the code. That was done, one, because the developers thought it was a good choice, but secondly, also because adding TypeScript within the project usually help, because by loading up the project, importing it, and using it, you can actually see all the type declarations. So usually for a very big open source project, it does help indeed. And then as they rewrote everything, they also reduced the bundle size. They enhanced, they provided loads of enhancement. For example, I don't know if you've ever heard of the reactivity system. Previously, the reactivity system was written with a proxy, and it was written with a get set that was available within the object notation, or within the object in JavaScript. But now it's been changed to actually use proxy. So there's been loads of enhancements that are very, very good enhancements. Some of them are not going to be supported in newer browser. We're going to talk about that later during this session. As I already touched upon, there's TypeScript integration. And then the big thing that everyone talked about is the composition API. So there is this enhancement or change or ability for you to declare object in two different ways. So you can either have a class declaration, a main declaration, or you can actually have a declaration with the composition API. Many people compare it to the React hooks. And it's very similar, but let's say that they waited a couple of years for the React hooks to be used by the community, waited to see some feedback, and probably they've implemented it with a little bit of a Vue love within that. And then the question that many people ask is, oh, wait a minute, this is a full rewrite. So how many breaking changes there are? Is it the same as the Angular to AngularJS migration? And the answer is no, not really. So the guys have been really good. If you think that they've rewritten the whole app, you will see that the changes are really minimal. They've been very, very good in being able to to keep the change at the minimum. And today I'm gonna show you how a small application can actually be upgraded. You will see that the changes are not there. The main problem, I would say problem, but the main thing is about the rest of the ecosystem. So loads of the packages and things that you may use, they may not work with Vue 3 now. But other than that, the application itself can easily be upgraded if you don't have many dependencies. And then the question that people will probably ask straight away is, when can I use it? If you're starting with a small application, if you know that you will not need hundreds and hundreds of dependencies, then yes, Vue 3 is a very good step to, a very good project to start for. If you do have a Vue 2 application, I will not suggest you to upgrade yet, because there is more things to come. The application is quite new, and there are some other things such as the vue-router and Vue test util that is still not have a full release, as you will see later on. So wait a little bit. If you are also starting a new project and you know that you will need Vuetify and loads of packages, again, it may not be the right time to upgrade, because, for example, Vuetify, they think of supporting Vue in Q1 2021. So, you will be stuck in not being able to find packages, and then you will be forced to do packages by yourself. As with every session I do, guys, I usually like to provide a disclaimer. I need to remind everyone that I'm just human. Vue 3 just came out, so I just prepared for this session. I played around with this session, but I'm not a Vue 3 wizard, and probably the only one that is a Vue 3 wizard for now is the core team, the Vue 3 core team. So before we can continue, I would like you to read this very, very nicely written terms and condition, and check that box, please, for me. It's because, I'll do it for you because you don't have any access. So the box is checked. Please do apologize if there is any error, or if something does go wrong. It can happen, and we're just human. So we go through that. Also, what I'm going to share with you, for example, feedback of things that I have of the composition API, or things like that, they're my own thought, and they don't have to be taken as, as the community-wide decision or things like that. Good. So we're almost close. We're getting close to the live session, the part that I'm dreading the most. But before we do that, we have the frequently asked question. After answering that, I'm going to check if there's any initial question for you guys before I go through the code. So the first question, do I need to use the composition API? So I've seen a session. Someone went and said, I'm upgrading Vue 3. And he did a Vue 3 and did a YouTube call. And what he did in his upgrade, he upgraded every single component he had into a composition API component. That is not required. I personally am looking at composition API as mixing. The same way I was using mixing before, I'm using mixing now, a composition API now. I know that it's not the same things, they're not comparable. There's way more power in the composition API, but I'm not being too bothered to change with the composition API because it's just the big buzz. So do I need to use the composition API? Nope. We're not going to touch the composition API in this session whatsoever. Do I need to use TypeScript? And the answer again is not. TypeScript is optional. You can use it. If you like TypeScript, why not implement it straight away? But you don't really have to use it. It's up to you. And then, are there any migration tool that can help you with, with changing it in? The answer is they will be, but they're not there yet. And that's the reason why the core team suggests you to wait before you upgrade, wait for 2021, Q1 of 2021 before upgrading, because they're creating a set of tools that will allow you to either migrate automatically or to actually, give you the kind of error that you need to actually upgrade the system by yourself. And then the question that people sometimes forget to ask, but I usually always put in there because it's very important. You need to always remember about browser support. When something new and fancy come out, the browser support may not be high enough. So the idea is that the Vue 3 will support i11, and by supporting means that it will fall back for, I will just mention about the reactivity system before that has been changed to use proxy. If you use i11, you will not be able to use the proxy and it will fall back to the old method. But the i11 support is not there yet. So again, there are a few things that, that they will help if you wait a bit longer. And also by waiting, you will have more of this video coming out in the ecosystem, in the channels, in, all different schools. And they will help you 100% in getting a better grasp of Vue 3 before you jump into the project straight away. So I'm going to check if there's any question. Good. No question for now. Just to let you know, I'm going to explain my setup. I got VS Code running in this screen. I have the slides running in this other screen. And then finally, I have the application running on the third screen. This is the Netify application. I'm going to run a new instance of the application later on when I do the upgrade. I'm going to run it on the screen side by side. So I do hope that the sizing, the font size is big enough for you guys as I go through the code. But before we do that, let's talk about the last part, the ecosystem. So I already hinted a little bit here and there. What you can see from this page is that the ecosystem is not there yet. So yesterday you may notice, so yesterday they just mentioned that vue-router 4 has been released. So that was fantastic to have it released the day before my video, because I had to change all the things and try the code out. And then, for example, vuex is still in RC. So vuex is not been released yet. Vue test util is still in beta. Vue debugger is still in beta. Beautify, as I mentioned, is quite far away. Storybook, they've not even started to implement it. So there are quite a few things that are behind. What I would say is that there are a couple of links that you can use. So I'm going to paste the links within our, I don't know if I can paste the link. Oh, I cannot. I will share all this. I will share all this information later on anyway. I will share the slides. But there is a couple of links that are very useful to see the ecosystem. So the first one is from the Vue 3 itself. So if you search for Vue 3 migration introduction, you will see that there's a little link with the most important project and how they are and what is their state. And then if you actually go back to the slides, and we click on the other link, this is on the awesome view. And this is more complex. So as you can see, there is everything in it. And what is it is kind of a list of everything, on all the most important packages that I use within Vue, and their branch name and their information about the V3. Of course, this is a bit too big, so it's not really as up to date as it would be as that one is. But this gives you a cleaner picture of a bit more than just the other link that we shared over here. So again, this is an important topic to remember. We did the mistake ourselves. So as in this dot, we wanted to upgrade one of our system. We had a little website done in Vue.js. And we thought, oh, let's go, let's just upgrade it. So we went to upgrade it. Oh, we had 2 packages who didn't have support. Of course, there is no point of you trying to change the packages with one that have support when you got something that works. So we stopped that migration straight away. But again, it's something that is better for you to be aware of it, that before you actually start the migration, you need to look at the ecosystem. You need to look at what there is around it. So from my understanding, the comments are still nice and quiet, so I can continue. The next step is the one that I'm dreading the most. It's the live demo. Live demo, things goes wrong, things fail miserably, and I'm going to run quite a couple of npm command. Okay, so that's going to be the complicated part, I would say. If you do have some time, this is the GitHub that we're going to use for for this presentation. And as I mentioned, the branch that we're going to use today is the 301-0. Okay, so the 301-0 is the branch that you can see right here. Also, something else that I should mention for you guys is that this website has been pushed with the development being switched on. So if you go and open the Vue browser, you will actually be able to see the Vue debugger, even if it's been built in production mode. So this is just to support you guys in in analyzing and see what component and what we're doing and so on and so forth. So just wanted to mention that in case you wanted to see it. So also, again, as I mentioned before, there will be loads of references. You can see each page has its own reference and the links. So all the links that we're going through, they will be in the PowerPoint. So if you want to copy the PowerPoint, just reach out. I will try to remember and attach it to the comments, but do reach out if you need it. So let's go through, and let's go through our migration. So this is the scary part. Now, before we do migration, let's go through the code itself so you can see a little bit how the code is actually developed and deployed. So we have a main.js file. The file has the view, our app, that is the entry point. We got the router and we got the store. And then in the app file is a very simple one where we got a router view, and we got a little bit of CSS, nothing special. Then when we go within the store, we have modules. Okay, so we have a couple of modules: the user module and the article module. And there's nothing special here. We just got some getters, some setters, and nothing specific. So we're going to see how hard it will be to actually upgrade the store to the newer version. And then we got the router that is, again, not too complex, but we have a couple of pages. We got the home page, docking page, and dashboard. We got some asynchronous loaded components. So if you don't know, this is the way to load them asynchronously and create Webpack chunks for it. And then we got a couple of routes, and we also got some, some extra kind of set for the before enter, just to make sure that we are, we're logging in. It's, of course, is a very simplistic login. And then we also got some children components. So we got the dashboard. So if we go back to our application, apologies here. This is the whole dashboard component, and this is the children view. So within that, you will see that we got articles, create new, and so on and so forth. So if we go back, you can see that within the dashboard, we do have children. So we got the default, the article, we go create. And again, we're going to see how complex will it be to actually upgrade this. Before we finish off, then we also got a very simple scroll behavior. So I don't know if you've ever done this, but the idea is that this will define a callback when we move between screens. This could be more complex to have some extra parameter, but the idea is that when I go between a screen and another, it's going to go back, and make sure that it scroll back to the top of the page. So if I go here, for example, and I make this very small, and I scroll down, and I click on create new, you can see that it scroll back up. So I scroll down, it scroll back up. Okay. So this is, I don't know you, but I got this in 99% of my project. So it's, again, I've added things that I know that are actually useful for you guys. Then when we go within the layout, we got very simple component. They are set up in the IT, let's say IT CSS converted for a component, for a view. So we got layout, we got views, we got session, we got base. So we got a couple of components there. We're going to analyze different components as we do our migration. So I'm not going to focus too much because I don't want to lose too much time for you guys. So the first and foremost, as you may expect, is we need to actually upgrade the packages. So if we go in our package.json, you can see that we have a 2.6 for Vue. We got 3.1 for vue-router and 3.1.3 for Vue. So there are a couple of dependencies that actually are they will need to be updated. And let's go and let's do the step. So just so you know, I do have the step written down. So sometimes I will copy and paste, and sometimes I will actually write it from scratch, just to make sure, because as you know, when you do live demo, actually try to type things is not a very good idea. So the first and foremost is important for us to do is to upgrade the Vue CLI. So to allow the ecosystem to work and for the Vue CLI to actually work correctly and load the right component, we do need the latest version of the Vue CLI. The Vue CLI should be installed globally. So to upgrade the Vue CLI, depending if you go npm or if you go yarn, you will do npm install -g, and then you just pass the Vue CLI. So this is our first step. That shouldn't take too long because it's just been upgraded, so it should actually be passed through. It is true that I'm streaming, so if anything goes wrong, I will be back. Then what we're going to do, I'm going to use this time where this upgrade works to actually mention our steps. So the first one is the Vue CLI. The next step then is going to be to actually upgrade Vue to the next version. And then we're going to upgrade the packages within the CLI. Then we're going to upgrade the vue-router and vuex. So these are the kind of steps that we need. And as we go through, there will be an issue and there will be another package that needs to be upgraded that is not part of this very big package, but it's part of the dev dependencies. Of course, it's taking a long time to upgrade. So let's go through. Now, I have, when upgrading a package, I was the one not to know, and I'm happy to, to share my my luck. I was going through the link that I shared before, and I was going through taking the version. I was trying to install the right version of the component that I needed. But what I realized is that lots of new Git packages are doing this at next. So when you actually install something, instead of actually define a specific version, you're able to do the done next. For in our case, if I would just do npm install vue, it will still install the version 2. So for me to install version 3, I will have to do npm install vue and then @ and next. So the next package we're going to upgrade is going to be next. It's going to be vue. So now we're going to upgrade our vue package. Now, if you have upgraded, or if you have used the Vue CLI to install most of your packages, and you've added the packages through the Vue CLI, that will actually support you and will be beneficial for you it will support you in upgrading, because the Vue CLI is coming up, is going to have a little upgrade kind of system to actually upgrade the services to the next level up. So we are so to do that, to actually upgrade all the services within the Vue CLI, we run another command that is called vue upgrade. Just so you know, disclaimer, I do apologize for the huge vulnerabilities here. I started to do all the different commits and everything, and then I realized I had loads of vulnerabilities. It would have been a lot of work to go back. So I do apologize. It's just a demo. Oh, sorry. Of course, I meant upgrade. So you just run vue upgrade. So I don't know if you never run the vue IO. So the vue upgrade, you just say, hey, are you sure you want to run all this? I'm like, yeah, it's fine. No worry about it. So we are running the upgrade. So what it's going to do is going to go through our application. It's going to check all the packages that are Vue CLI packages, and just going to check if there is any upgrade for that. So what you can see here, unfortunately, is a bit broken because of this is the table view. So you can see, you say, hey, you got this installed now. You can see you got this installed. This is what you wanted, but the latest is that. Do you want to upgrade? So it's asking you if you want to upgrade all these packages. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to enter. And now it's going to upgrade all these packages individually for me. Again, as you can see, this is as the packages will develop and they will have things. It will actually, I think they're hoping to be able to have an upgrade code as well that will change things as they will be required for you. By the time being, we're just doing this. So as I mentioned, this part of the vue upgrade is just going to upgrade the packages that you previously added by doing the vue add. Okay, so it's not actually going to do all the packages. So as you can see, there are quite a few dev dependencies. It's not upgrading those ones. As I mentioned, the next step for us was to check what do we have as a dependency that we have per crate. So the next one up, as soon as this is ready, is going to be the vue-router, and then it's going to be vuex. Okay. Now, when I did all the run through, the vue-router was not on a release version. It was on a beta version, and now it's been released. Now, I'm actually hoping that it's going to be all okay, but let's hope that nothing has changed since 2 days ago, since I did a full run through. So to run the vue-router and vuex, we're going to do the same command as we did before. So we're going to do npm install vue-router at next and npm install at vue at next. Okay. So we're waiting for these packages to finish. Also, to save time, because this is taking a couple of minutes due to streaming, what I'm also going to do, what you will realize if we actually, as we upgrade the vue-router and upgrade the vuex, I found the first issue. So I was doing it and started to run it, and I was like, what's going on? They told me to do that, but something else is happening. The application will complain if you try to do that and then to run it, will complain about the Vue template compiler. So as you know, the template compiler is used to compile .vue file into to compile the .vue file for you. This one is actually has been removed. Okay, the new version of Vue, and I think even the very latest version of the old Vue does not use the Vue template compiler anymore, but use something else called compiler-sfc. So what we're going to do now, we're going to do 3 steps. One, we're going to install the vue-router, then we're going to install the new vuex, and then we're going to remove the template compiler, and we're going to install this new compiler that we may need, that is necessary for Vue to actually run. I think this is the last package that needs to be upgraded. Let me see. I don't think it's doing them in order. Of course, it's not doing them in order. Okay. I wanted to run multiple Vue npm install, but I don't want the machine to destroy. So as we wait, unfortunately, there are a lot of npm installs, so I knew that was going to take a couple of minutes. So as we wait, I'm probably going to start and start to explain what will be the next step. So this is just the first step for our application. So you may have seen other other talks where they went through the upgrade, and you notice that the first thing they'll do, they will have to go in the main.js file. So the application is not, if we just do this upgrade and just upgrade everything, unfortunately, the application is not going to run straight away. We do have some small changes that are necessary for us to actually implement and have the application running. And most of these changes actually will live within the main.js file. So the main change, the biggest change, is that they changed the Vue to actually export a method called create app. The reason why they exported the method and they don't ask us to import all Vue is to actually support us in doing tree shaking. And what tree shaking is ability for you to just load the part of the application, the part of the library that you're actually using. When we did this in the past, by importing the whole Vue, you were importing everything. You were importing animation, you were importing transition, you were importing things that you never actually use within your animation. By changing the way they did, they will allow your compilers, such as Webpack or Rollup, to actually remove the necessary code and actually reduce the build size, the bundle size. So I'm going to do the next, I'm going to run the next command, and then I can explain more. So as I mentioned, the next one is going to be the vue-router, and next. And then it's going to be the vuex, and next. So going back to here is they changed the way we initiate the instance, the Vue instance, by exposing individual method, as I mentioned, the create app method. There are two benefits, as I mentioned. The two benefits. The first one is the tree shaking that I mentioned. The second one is that now you can have multiple instances of Vue within the same file, where before that was not simple or possible. There were a few hiccups that will happen. Now it's actually, it will allow you for that to happen. Now, disclaimer: I've not tried. I just heard of it, but this will be the next thing they will probably do. The next package that we're going to add as we talk is going to be the vuex. Okay, so we're going to install vuex there. Last two packages, and then we're ready to rock. I did have a version of the application with all these packages installed, but I think it's a bit of a, I don't like to cheat or jump, or, people think it's, without doing it live, it's not the same. So I prefer to do it live with you guys. I do apologize for the npm install. My computer is probably crying for all these installations. Okay, last and foremost, guys, we got two things. Number one, we're going to remove the Vue template compiler, as I mentioned, because we're not going to use that anymore, because it's not of any use. And then you can do it. Yes, almost finished. Okay, and then we're going to install these new packages, that is @vue/compiler sfc. So we're going to install that, and that's needed. So if I would have tried to serve the application, you would have seen that the application would not have actually worked straight away. Okay. So get ready, because we've got lots of changes to do. We're going to go through them quickly. Okay. So as this one to save some time again, because I want to cover as much as I can, we're going to mention that we're going to change application. So if I would run the application right now, you will see that there will be an error in the debugger, say cannot read property use of undefined. And the main reason for it is because it's trying to part of the application, such as the vue-router. Where is it? Vue-router, yeah. Are trying to do the vue.use, but unfortunately, the view does not export. There's not a default export anymore. So this will give you an error if you try to run it. So the first change we're going to do within your application, you have to change it. You have to change the view here, import to change to actually have import the create app. Yeah. I'm gonna comment out the router for now. We're going to remove this because this is not needed anymore in Vue 3. So they've removed it. They removed it because everyone would just set it to false anyway at the very start. And then we're going to do that thing. So as you can see in here, we got the new view. We're going to change that to actually be. You can declare a constant. So whichever name you want to the app. And then you're going to say equal create app. So the app is our component. So that one is not changed. Because we removed the vue-router, that will be what will be left over here. But we remove everything. And then because we got our component, so this is our view instance, we're now going to do app.mount, and we're going to pass the app ID. So this is probably, nothing of this is different. The only thing that actually will feel different is this create app. So if I just do this now and I do, and we serve our application, we're starting to see that the application is actually starting to take shape. So we shouldn't see actually big errors in the application. We should just see an empty shell because we removed the router, we removed the store, therefore the application is not able to load. So I'm gonna copy the link, go in our app. You can see our application is here, is running. There's no error in the console, so that's fantastic. But this is of course not what we want. So the next step is going to be to actually add vuex and then to add the vue-router. So first and foremost, we're going to add vuex. Okay. So we're going to add the import again. So we're going to do we're going to add the store. Then when we actually go in the store, as I mentioned before, we don't have this. So we're not able to call this anywhere else in the application anymore. So by removing that, we're also going to remove the need of actually doing vue.use. And when we go back in our application, we're going to do everything that before you did vue.use, you're going to do now app.vue. And you're going to call your store. Most, I know application where this app.use store is actually done within the main.js file. So if you do that, you will actually be okay, and there will be no problem. So if we go back to our application, we refresh, you see that we shouldn't see any error. That means our store is actually being loaded up. You won't believe it, but this is all you need to do for the store to actually work. So far, I've seen actually no breaking changes for the vuex. I may find some as I go through, but there's no breaking changes. So vuex will work out of the box, and it seems to be working okay. The next one is going to be the router. The router, we do the same. So we import the router again. Oh, did it go? Yeah. So we're going to go in the router. As I mentioned, we need to remove the view because we don't do that anymore. We're going to copy the view use because we don't want that to be stored in there. It's much easier to actually have it up here. We're going to do app.view and we're going to do router. So this is the same that we did with the view store. We're still going to have an error too. So if you go back here, I think, yeah. If you go, I don't want this error to show. I want to keep that for later. So if you go up here and you see and you refresh the page, you can see that we got an error. So the error is in the constructor of the vue-router, and it's telling you export default. So there's no default. So what happened? That the vue-router followed the same convention and the actual view. So you don't actually have a view. You don't actually have a vue-router, a default export anymore. So what you have to do, you will have to change to be create router. And also something else that we're going to use today is going to be create web hash history. So very similar to Vue, they've done this to allow tree shaking and to actually for you to have multiple implementation of the code. So what we have to do, we have to go down below here, and we're just going to do create router by passing the information over. And then what we're also going to do, I don't know if you have ever used the mode. So before we had something called mode, and you add ability to have mode history or mode hash. So they changed that. It's not going to be the mode anymore, but it's going to be called history. And you're going to pass 4 different entries. It's either going to be create a web hash history, or it's going to be create, I think, a web, browser history, or another one. So this is changed. So this is going to be a breaking change in your application. Now, if I save my application, you can see that there's no error here. And if we go back here, oh, yes, of course, the one thing that I typed it wrong. Hey, as you can see, guys, the application is actually running now. So some of these parts are broken. As you can see, I commented out the articles, and I'm going to tell you right now. And there's a couple of errors. So this is a beautiful thing that you can start to see, that the guys within the Vue community are starting to provide us with very useful information to say, hey, look, there's something going on. So we're going to cover all this later on. But for step 1, what is necessary for you to know is that we've actually finished off the first upgrade. So if I was just using Vue with the router and with the vuex, 90% of my application would already been working. But unfortunately, there are some small changes and breaking changes here then that need to be fixed. So if we will go through the application, you will see that if I do a create app, I think if I do this, it's not going to work anymore. So if I do test, you can see that it's actually not working anymore. It's not creating. So this link was disabled before. So if you go here, you can see that I click, but it's disabled. If I go back here, it's not disabled anymore. And if I open in full screen, this one, oh, still this open in full screen, but there's something that we can do there to change. So there are a few things that need to be changed there. And this is going to be where we move next. So don't forget, guys, I do look at the questions every now and then. So thank you for everyone writing. So if you got questions, just write them out. By the way, with most of my talk, I don't usually go loads through the slides, but this will be shared so you can see. So you can see this, I have linked to the vue-router, to the Vue debugger, and the latest library. This reminds me that we've not covered something important, the Vue debugger. So if you go back here, you see that this application has a lovely Vue tab, but the new application, there's no Vue over here. So what happens is that the current Vue debugger does not detect Vue. What that means is that it's not able, doesn't work with Vue 3. So to actually, for you to use a Vue 3 application, you need to use a new debugger extension that is actually available right here. So when you search for it, my understanding is, yeah. So when you search for it, it's Vue DevTools, and it's the beta version. So it's the newer version of it. So you're able to install it no problem whatsoever, or upgrade your current settings. I'm trying to find the page. This one. So I've installed it already on my profile. If I'll find it, it wasn't this one. I pressed the wrong one, did I? Yes, person 2. So we'll be on person 2. Let's try to open the debugger. As you can see now, the Vue debugger is there. Now, the Vue debugger is changed quite a bit. So as you can see here, it's telling us that it's the V3 application. You can see that the inspectors change within inspector, timeline, and settings. These are things that you can set up within the config file. And then we got the vue-router and the components and router. As you can see, there is no vuex yet. So I'm not sure if I've done anything wrong myself in the upgrade or anything, but vuex doesn't seem to be there. But everything else seems to be working. So very important things. The debugger is there, because when I started the upgrade, I didn't know the debugger was there. So I actually was trying to play my life, doing things blind, but the debugger is actually there. So you just need to upgrade it. Again, I'm going to share all these links, so don't worry about that. They should all be fine. So now we're going to go through the different components, the different things that we need to upgrade. And the first and foremost is a change for the V4 in V4 key. So I've seen, again, loads of different sessions, and these have never been told. So what you can see, if I go here and I comment out what was actually there, you can see that we got a big problem. This works fine. There was no problem whatsoever. But you can see that the compiler gave us a big error. And it said, hey, the key should be placed on the template tag for the V4. So if you ever use a template tag before, you know that usually when you do a template tag, the key will go in the individual component within the template tag. So if you had the template and you had two or three key within that, you will add all the keys within those individual component within your template tag. this has been changed now. So the compiler will automatically be able to assign the key for you. So what we need to do for this to actually be working is we have to move the key up one step. Now, what you can see is that the application is happy, but my debugger is not happy. So what is happening is that because we have not upgraded ESLint, we still have the version of ESLint that was set up for Vue 2, while we should actually have a version of ESLint that should be set up for V3. Now, because I've done already too many installation of NPM, I'm not going to do that right now. If we have some time, we're going to do it later. But to actually upgrade, it's as easy as running npm install save dev and then ESLint at latest. So by just doing this, it will upgrade to the version 7, and the version 7 is going to have the Vue 3 recommendation. So we do this, and then we will just be able to set it up. Unfortunately, I will have to restart Visual Studio Code and everything else, so I'm not going to do that right now. So wish me luck on trying to remember all the issues that I was supposed to fix from that. So if we fix this, we go back to our application, go to the dashboard, we should be able to see the article. So as you can see, the article works. So you need to bear in mind that now quite a few things work, because the article works, the synchronous loading of the component works, the router is working. Quite a few things are actually working straight away. So that's fantastic to hear. Again, I did not know about this before until I actually started. Until I actually, I actually work with it. So it's something that I wanted to share with you guys. And also it's important to understand that if you're going to work on, so I had the V3 application, the V2 application while I was trying to work out on this demo. It is going to be complicated because the ESLint is going to be absolutely mad. Sometimes you're going to go, you have to restart the machine, I restarted the machine twice, something didn't happen, I have to clean my cache, the node module. So it is going to be a bit of a disruption if you're just trying for fun. So what I would suggest is try to use a, one of those live editor, for example, Code Sandbox or others that do have the version 3, the version 3 of the application already available for us. I need to remember that one. The next part that we're going to introduce is fragment. So I've seen talks about fragment and teleport. Hey, it's fantastic, this fragment, but I've never actually seen a real life example. So we're going to see a real life example for you right away. What we're going to do, we're going to go in our base layer, and we got a base input. So our base input is very simple. We got a div, we got a label, and we got an input. So if you've done this, probably you've done this many, many times before, you know that we are not able to remove the div because that will then have 2 elements within the root of a Vue component, and that's not allowed. So when you go back here, I want to show you the fragment. So this is the fragment, the label and the title, the label and the field. Now, what the fragment is going to allow us is very simple. So before there was a small package that would allow you to do that by using the render function, but now it's been added within the library itself. A fragment will allow you to remove the actual, the nested root and have more than one element within the root itself. As you can see, because I got the old ESLint, it's going to complain and it's going to get quite upset because it says that you just have one root, but it's not. It's absolutely fine. If we go back and we refresh our application, you can see that our fragment is still fine. And something else that is also nice for you to see is that if you actually find it in the debugger, you can see that the debugger will tell you which one are actually fragments. It is important for you to be aware that it's not just one component and not just one element within that, because there can be some, some issues or things that can be erased from it. So if we go back to our application, we have a fragment. And just to give you an idea, there's another fragment within the application that you will see the benefit of not having it. So within our buttons on the main navigation bar, we have this called model. The model has a link and then it's a div. But because of the limitation of Vue, I've had to force to merge this within a span. So if I go here, you can see if I spec this element, guys, you can see that I had all nice A tag, and then I got this span, okay? That's unfortunately hacks that we've done. If we use Vue, no one will actually see anything wrong with it. Everything seems fine. Of course, it's not nice. We would like the A to be on the top level. So this is another very good idea to use fragments. So I'm going to remove this. I'm going to have 2 elements at the very base of my component. If we go back to the application, we refresh, you can see that now I got lovely A tags, they're all there. So this is really, I think it's really good because I'm really advocate to have very good, clean code. And this is very important for me to be able to see that. Again, ESLint is complaining about it, but it's fine. It's just as I mentioned, because we've not upgraded ESLint. What is going to happen now is going to be another enhancement that it's been quite tricky for me to understand. So I've seen it in talks, I've seen it, and I was like, okay, that's great, but when do we actually use it? And I'm going to use it right now. And this is going to be called the teleport. First and foremost, don't forget, if you got any questions so far for the v4 or question on the fragment, please do mention, and I will be happy to answer. If you go here, you see the component that we've just done. If you see that if we click the model, there's a little div that get added within the navbar, and this is the model that we do have. Now, I'm probably not going to be the only one. We've all done this. So we've added the model somewhere. We had to add position absolute and crap here and there, and try to do things that were really, really not nice, just because of the way the cascading effect of our application and the components actually works. The fragment allows us to clean the code even more. So what I mean by that is, in here we got our component that is the model. Unfortunately, this will be injected within the nav, but that does not have to be the case anymore. We have a new component within it's not a package, it's actually is included within the library now, well, before it was an external package that is called teleport. Before it was called, I don't remember the name of the component before, but you may have used it before. What the teleport does, the teleport tells my component, I would like you to render this somewhere else. So when we write it, we're going to do everything fine. This component is going to be part of the navbar and everything else. But in reality, you're going to say, hey, when this component is true, so when this component is going to be shown, it's not going to be shown next to the A tag. It's going to be teleported somewhere else. So the name teleport was really good. So in my case, I'm going to say, I'm going to teleport it to the body. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to put teleport again, and I'm going to save. Go back here now. You can see a big change, a very, very big change. First and foremost, we don't have the div here anymore. So we got a model, but we don't have the div. And secondly, I don't know if you noticed, but this is actually changed. In our old application, when I click the model, it will just cover my main page because I was using absolute 0, 0, and the main body as a position relative, it wouldn't go in through. So of course, there are hacks where you can do a negative left, a negative right, and viewport, and so on and so forth. But again, they were hacks. This is not a hack anymore. What we've done now, when you go and see here, the HTML, this is teleport at start and teleport end. And if we actually go back to the body, you can see that there is actually a model right within the body. So this is not actually just good for HTML or coolness, but it's actually also good for accessibility. We're actually able to create an accessible, a very accessible layout of our HTML that before was not actually easily possible. It was, of course, possible. You know, many people have mentioned to me, you can have a button, but then you can have the vuex store to define and so on and so forth. That's all fine. But how many of us have actually done something similar to this? But now we have the ability for the teleport to actually take shape. Again, with the teleport, you can add wherever you want. So you my understanding is that you can pass, for example, a class or anything, and it will just teleport that to the class. As soon as I close the div, you can see that this is going to be removed. And if we go back to here, there's still nothing. It just tells you that it's teleport. So this is very beneficial for us to know that there is something, that the HTML is not there because it's been teleported somewhere else. So this was a very big thing for me to learn and try to understand where to use it. So I hope this has been a very good, a very good example for you. Ooh, there's quite a lot to go. So the next one, I'm not going to cover it up. I think it's not going to be as important, and I will want to cover a bit more about the V model. I've done a blog post on that, so I can share that with you if necessary. But the idea is that if you got properties, now they also added events. So when you actually specify, sorry, I was typing on the other screen. So when you actually specify properties, you are also going to specify events. So if you go a logout event or my custom event update, you're able to specify them the same way they were doing with properties, and you're even able to add validator to it. As I mentioned, I do have a blog post that I can share if necessary for people. The one that I actually want to cover in a couple of minutes is actually going to be the attribute. There's been an attribute change and a V model change that is very, very important. So as I mentioned before, as you can see, when we try to create a new blog, it wouldn't work. And the reason for that is because they changed the way the V model works and the dot sync works. So I don't know if you guys have actually ever used the vsync, but as you can see up here, I had a couple of base input and I was using the sync to actually work on it. The sync has been completely deprecated. We're not actually going to use sync anymore, but we're going to use V model. So V model before was just available on input field, but now it's available for everything. So we got the V model there. And then we're going to do the same over here because we got the vsync. Now, if I'm going to save this, going back to my V3 application, apologies, it's up here. I don't know if it refreshed, so I better refresh. So I'm going to test if my view works. And when you go back here, you can see that there's a new one. So again, if you were using sync, just easily, you will have to change it because the sync will not work anymore. My understanding is that if you upgrade ESLint, you will actually see some of these actually coming up. The next one is going to be quite an advanced topic, and the topic is about attribute. So if we go back to our base input, you can see that we are passing attribute to, this has been something that probably many of you have actually done. If you want, for example, to be able to set a specific input attribute, for example, the type, the row, the area model and everything, but you wanted to bypass the kind of the parents and you had the wrapper, you had to use this attribute, attribute object. So if we go here and we're going to show you what the attribute is, you can see that an attribute is in Vue 3, the attribute has changed quite a lot. And what I mean by change is that the attribute has started to, it's been enhanced to have everything that you pass over to the component. These, unfortunately, will take too long to explain fully. So what I would say is that in previous examples, in previous cases, if you add an ID, as you can see up here, I had ID and I had classes. I had to pass the ID and the class manually because they were not part of the attribute. The attribute has now changed, and because of the change that you actually had, most of the things such as the ID and the class are all part of the attribute itself. So if you want to pass something from the parents to the child, it's just as easy as doing vbind attribute. The vbind attribute also has inputs within that. But so if I remove this, as you can see, we don't need to define them as properties anymore. It can be nice and easy to actually remove that. The one thing you need to bear in mind is we remove the label now. We need to make sure that we also, because we remove the property of ID, we need to do this over here. Oh, sorry, apologies. And this is, again, is an advanced topic, so there will be links in the PowerPoint if you want to go and read it through. They just changed the way it actually worked before. So if you go now, you will see that the main thing you will see through is that if I go here and inspect the element, you can see that there is a type, there is a role, there is a class, and there is an ID. But I'm not actually defining the class anymore as a property, and I'm defining the ID anymore. All that is actually done behind the scene. There were a few parts. So if you guys do have any questions, I'll probably answer a question, but there were a few parts of the router that I wanted to share. The first and foremost is the one that you've seen here in the error, where it was telling us that the router is changed. So if you were using transition before, if we're going in our router, you can see that, sorry, if we go through our dashboard, you can see that they're using transition as you've always done it. So you transition, you say where, and then you add the router view inside it. This has actually been changed. So if you go back here, you can see that it's telling you that this is not the way anymore to use it. So for transition and keep alive, we have to use this new way of actually declaring it. So we have to use a slot. This was a change that the guys had to do because of of changes within the actual view library, view code library. So as you can see, we got the view router. We need to specify a slot, and then we pass the component. This is not extremely clean, but the guys have done a good job of giving you a proper error. So when you go back here now, you can see that the transition is working again as we would have expected. I'm going to share all the information within the PowerPoints for you guys. What I was going to share next, if there was more time, it would have been changes within the scroll. So the scroll to top has changed. They changed the naming for it. And I'm going to say that the view router, the router link has lost a couple of properties, one of which is the event tags. Some people were using the event to disable a component, and that's not possible anymore. So we're just going through, and that was the reason why the component was not working. Last and foremost, I was trying to show you my attempt to update the unit test that failed miserably. So the unit tests didn't work. I tried for the little time that I had allocated aside to actually do this talk. Unit tests don't actually work. There's so much that needs to be changed. I tried it. I tried to work it, and everything started to take shape. It took quite a long time. At the end of the day, what I realized is that the unit tests are not there yet, but more than that, it was taking a bit too much for my time. So of course, if someone has more knowledge or time, you can probably get it working. But I started to get stuck because the unit test within this repository has the store, quite complex things, because it's a repository we use to share knowledge and to write advanced view. So I did find it difficult. And this is one of the reasons why I say people to stop and don't upgrade right away, because as much as the actual application works, there may be things that you really would like to upgrade it yourself, and you may not be able to. So it's important for you to be able to know that that it's better to wait. I know that everyone is really keen on upgrading and going very quickly, but there's a bit of time. There's no rush. It's going to be our Christmas present for next year, and we're able to go through. So as I mentioned, I tried to do many things, and then the car failed. So too much. So I know there's not much time. We're up on time. We're over the hours. But if there is if you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. I'm gonna go back and read the questions if there are any within that. Let me see. The question I can see for now is just from John. So you say, if Vue3 allows multiple Vue instances, can these both share the same view router? Where, as I mentioned before, I'd heard as part of one of the talk. So there was a talk from Even Vue that actually came to the Vue meetup. If you go to vuemeetup.com, that happened on the third Thursday of every month. Even Vue came around, and part of the explanation, if I'm not wrong, is the one that said, "Oh, you're able to have multiple instances." So I think you can, but at the end of the day, I'm not sure. I think I don't know, but it's something that we probably need to try, John. I think from the way it will probably work, I don't think the router actually keeps any state within himself. So the router just takes the state from the Vue instance you push in. So I don't think by loading to, I don't know what is your expectation of what you're trying to do, but something that we can try out. And if any of you try out something, or you find that I've say anything that is wrong, just do reach out on Twitter, because I'm really happy for you guys to find out more things. So I did find these 10, 15 things while I was doing the upgrade, but there's nothing wrong on coming up. The slides, I'm gonna provide the slides for you guys. I'm gonna add it as part of the comments of the YouTube channel, so they may be shared tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. And also, if any of you wants, this information as well, I'm more than happy to provide you this as well. So this is just a book through of every single, every single step that we actually did. I do wish I had more time as well. There is always, time is always valuable. Unfortunately, probably was my choice of doing the npm install during the call. I should have done it. I did have a version ready with npm install. I didn't realize that the streaming was going to take so much of my, it was slowing down things so much. But I'm more than happy, again, if it's possible, I'll probably check if I can join the Vue meetup for the next month or a month or so, and we'll try to go through that. Again, the more I will learn, follow me on Twitter or the this.labs tweets, because the more I will learn, the more I will share, because as I just mentioned, Vue is new. I know that lots of people show you the coolest upgrade, but I wanted to show you a real upgrade where things actually really break and things that you have to do. So I will happily do more. The part about the attributed view model is a very big and complex part. So this will probably take a talk by itself. I took quite some time to understand it myself. And so it's nice probably to spend some time. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I would say the Twitter bio is Zelig880. Sarah, if you will be so kind to share it, and also the Digital Labs. It was one of the, yeah, that's the one. So again, call me out, guys. I'm more than, as long as everything is view related, I don't mind. I'm more than happy to help the community, and I like to have this kind of thing. So yeah, reach out. I will be happy to come through this journey of view upgrade with you. As soon as we're able to upgrade our application, we will do the blog post as well. Oh, and I forgot to say, I'm going to write down a blog post with everything that I actually mentioned today. So that will also be shared. That's on my to-do list.
Thank you so much, Simone. Amazing talk. You can catch Simone, Tracy Lee, and Mike Hardington next week, Thursday, at our last Global Vue meetup. 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Check out vuemeetup.com. And we are back with our final session of the day with Kyle Matofsky. He can't get enough of JavaScript Marathon. He's back for number 2. So check back here in about a half an hour, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. And we'll see y'all soon. Thank you.
Thanks so much for the opportunity. And bye.